and I am happy to say that Jason is here once again to share the news. Hello, Jason.
Hello, my friend.
Hi.
I'm not sure whether or not I should take the kookiness as a compliment.
Oh, definitely. That's cool to be kooky.
As long as you say it is, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is your Open Minds News Brief for Monday, November 21st, 2011. And Alejandro, Thanksgiving is this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start off with a story that is fitting for Thanksgiving. During Thanksgiving, all sorts of things get crammed into the refrigerator. So we're going to start off with a story about an alien in the refrigerator.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, yeah. A Russian woman claims she found an extraterrestrial outside her home in Western Russia 2 years ago, and until recently, she kept the ET in her refrigerator. According to The Sun, the woman claims she heard a loud noise outside her home. She rushed outside to find flaming wreckage and crumpled metal from a crashed UFO. The extraterrestrial victim of this crash was allegedly nearby, and her reaction was to wrap the strange creature in plastic and place it in her fridge. Well, the Daily Mail describes this creature is 2 feet long, has an enormous head, large bulbous eyes, and an appearance somewhere between a fish and a humanoid. It also appears to have what looks like string-like arms protruding from its body. This Jabba the Hutt-like appearance is just one element to the story that has many suspecting a hoax.
Baby
The
Jabba.
Sun reports, quote, people who have seen pictures of the alien have likened it to Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars and Slimer from the Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
Others have claimed this bizarre find is simply a rotting vegetable which looks remarkably otherworldly. Also odd is the fact that the woman waited 2 years to tell anyone about this body in her fridge. She claims that when she found the supposed extraterrestrial, it was wearing a spacesuit. But Alejandro, when she put it in her fridge, it seems to be kind of nude. So, kind of creepy. She must have disrobed this creature before putting it in the fridge. And where's the spacesuit now? Don't know. So, that's kind of weird. And the corpse has also disappeared, creating yet another problem with this story. The Sun states that an Academy of Science in Russia is investigating the case. However, according to information in a video that surfaced on November 5th, 2 men claiming they were from this Academy of Science confiscated the corpse. And also, according to this video, employees at the Academy of Science were contacted about the extraterrestrial body, but those employees denied knowing anything about it. So they could be covering it up, or nobody from that place took the body. Mm-hmm. Another element to the story that leads some to suspect a hoax is the involvement of paranormal writer Michael Cohen of the website All News Web. The Daily Mail reports that the footage was unearthed by Cohen. Cohen is infamous for his repeated support of hoaxes and other cases where there is no supporting evidence but his own. With regard to this story, Cohen stated, quote, "This could be an elaborate hoax. However, the possibility that this might be a genuine alien should not be discounted." Cohen did make one good point, though, stating that in all likelihood, most alien beings would look strange to us. And I agree with him. We don't know what all extraterrestrials would look like, so the fact that we have a strange creature, it's plausible that it could be an extraterrestrial. However, the multiple suspicious elements with the story make it unlikely that this corpse in the photos is a genuine extraterrestrial. But until definite proof surfaces, anything's possible, Alejandro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious about the story until I saw the picture. I mean, a lot of people have said it looks like an eggplant, a rotting eggplant, and I think that sounds more accurate than an alien. It just doesn't look like an alien whatsoever to me.
There are a lot of bizarre things with the body. The hand is the worst.
It's kind of this lump.
Yeah.
And then with this stringy thing hanging out.
It's long and kind of wavy, and then it has these 4 little, really awkward fingers sticking off it. And the waviness of the arm looks like a branch. You can see sort of the lines of a branch growth going through it as it waves. Or like an eye of a potato, how it wiggles around. It's just bizarre looking. And some have pointed out that the eyes of the creature sort of look like the cutouts of watermelon rinds. Mm-hmm. You can see the texture of watermelon around the eyes. So I don't know. It could be this sort of science project mashed together. But the other thing is you've got this body, and it's crammed in this bag. So in the pictures, you only see sort of the head sticking out and this one wavy arm sticking out.
But
So,
it's like in a plastic sandwich bag.
It's in a plastic bag. And it's funny to pretend like it's a scientific forensic photo. They've got this ruler next to it to show you the size, but they don't bother taking it out of the bag to do the measuring.
Yeah, this thing that's chucked in the fridge. And I think to me, another reason why it's not so unusual is that I'm a bachelor. And bachelors are used to having
science experiments in the fridge.
Exactly. So these very old things, lumps, that look very mysterious, no doubt, just hanging out in the fridge.
Take comfort knowing that I also have those in my refrigerator.
Oh, you do?
However, that's probably because I'm the man in the kitchen. So because I control all things in the kitchen, it's also my responsibility to toss things out, and I don't.
Sometimes. This story really reminds me of, though, an early Simpsons where he had this sandwich, and they went over years.
My stomach is turning just thinking about that episode.
He had this sub sandwich, and he kept finding it behind the couch, behind the fridge and everything, and it turned more purple and lumpy, but he would take a few bites every time he found it and then lose it again. I think that's what this was, and probably her husband saw it and was like, oh, there's my sandwich, just like Homer Simpson.
She would throw it in the garbage, and he'd put it right back in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Awful. Well, yeah, I'm calling bogus on that one. I don't know. That one's pretty goofy.
A lot of media outlets had a lot of fun with it, too. And that's
they
what it
really did.
Was,
yeah, it was picked up by everybody. So, yet another mysterious body in Russia. It seems to be a trend this year and last year. Well, I guess for a while now, it seems to be a lot of silly stuff coming out of Russia. People have time on their hands, and unfortunately, the media picks up on it. So, well, let's. I'll briefly do some NASA news here, because there was some cool NASA news. NASA announced last week that evidence suggests a giant lake of liquid water could be on Jupiter's moon Europa. A team of scientists led by Brittany Schmidt of the University of Texas at Austin made the announcement at a NASA press conference. The team recently studied ice formations in Antarctica and Iceland, which, as Space.com explains, provided clues as to how strange formations on Europa, known as chaos terrains, were formed. The study provided researchers with evidence that suggests a lake with, quote, as much water as North America's Great Lakes combined is 1.5 miles beneath Europa's surface. And because there are so many chaos terrains on Europa, scientists say several liquid lakes are likely to exist beneath the moon's surface. Liquid water is essential for life as we understand it on Earth, and therefore anytime liquid water is discovered elsewhere in the galaxy, the possibility of finding extraterrestrial life, as we know it, increases. The team's research was published in the November 17th issue of the journal Nature.
Cool.
More water in space, Alejandro.
Yeah, water in space.
And I think this is sort of a big key we're going to have going forward, looking for extraterrestrial life. You know, we're so limited in what we search for now, looking for life as we know it. And a big part of that is water, but we're also just looking at the surface of these bodies. And I think there's so much more going on underground than we realize. I think that's the case on the moon, too. I've said that before.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully they send a rover like the one they launched today.
Right. I think there's a lot going on underground on our planet that we don't know about.
Perhaps, I think many people would agree with you.
And I think our friends at Virgin are going to find out about that.
Underground?
Under the ocean. I think they'll be able to access things
under the sea?
Under our surface that we don't know about.
Huh.
I do. They're really pushing their Virgin Galactic and their, what is the other one? Virgin
Under the Sea.
Under the Sea?
Under the Sea.
I'm sorry, Richard. I don't remember what it's called.
So I remember that. So they're doing, what you're referring to is a project where they're taking a submarine really low. Is that what it is? Yeah,
they have these special submarines, and they're sort of like underwater jets.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they can go super deep and super fast.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Very interesting. I love under the sea, and you know, I love space, but you know, when we look at our own planet, we know so little about our own planet, let alone space, and that makes it even more laughable when scientists make these outrageous claims about even planets in our own solar system, and then they come out and go, oh, by the way, we found planets that don't have orbits. They're just zipping by. We don't know what they are.
Yeah.
We're just guessing. Well, anyway, I've got another great story for you, Alejandro.
Sweet.
Are you ready?
No.
This is an Indiana Jones story,
Nice.
but it's not about Indiana Jones.
Bummer.
Yeah. Well, mummified remains of a body with a large head were discovered in Peru, and some scientists are claiming it to be of extraterrestrial origin. News site IO9 reports that Renato Davia Riquelme, an anthropologist at the Privado Ritos Andinos Museum in Cusco, Peru, made a discovery. The 20-inch tall body was originally thought to be that of a child, but Spanish and Russian doctors reportedly believed differently. As IO9 reports, Renato Davia Riquelme explained, quote, "It has a non-human appearance because the head is triangular and big, not the same size as the body. At first, we believed it to be a child's body until Spanish and Russian doctors came and confirmed that, yes, it is an extraterrestrial being." And that's the exact quote that this guy gave. So,
Yeah. Didn't they even say that the head is about the same size or bigger than the body?
they said it's about the same size or bigger than the body. That is correct. And so they thought those facts alone, they thought it could be a kid with some deformity or something.
Mm-hmm.
But other indicators were teeth. They have this thing has fully developed teeth, really large canine teeth, and it actually has molars. So a child of that age would not have molars.
Maybe they have the head mixed up with the wrong rest of the mummy.
You never know what happens when you're dealing with mummification.
Yeah.
Things can get screwed up fast.
Yeah. Because that sounds really weird. But regardless of if the head is the right one for the body or whatever, it's an awfully strange head.
It's a strange head for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to hear more about this one.
I'm sure it's from your ancestors.
Maybe. And I would be proud to have this large triangular-headed extraterrestrial being as a relative.
Yeah, I know you especially, so I'm assuming your family line, you come from big-headed people.
I don't know. Kind of, I guess.
Kind of.
Not abnormally, though. Our heads are typically much smaller than the rest of our bodies.
Oh, I was thinking about your ego. I'm getting confused.
Oh, you.
Got to get a dig in there.
Cold-blooded.
A dig in there for my friend Alejandro. I have a sighting I want to talk about here. A man by the name of Jason Reeve took pictures of UFOs in the sky above Chantry Court in Hatfield, England. While he was on his bed, he glanced out his window and noticed an odd light in the sky. Reeve is a photographer, and he stated, quote, "I often photograph the night sky, and I knew it looked different from anything I had seen before." He set up his Canon 60D and took a series of photos. When he reviewed his shots, he could see 4 separate lights in the sky that weren't visible when he snapped the photos. According to the well-known Hatfield Times, the image, quote, "showed mysterious mushroom-shaped craft set against a starry night sky." They're kind of interesting photos, and this is a guy who, he's a photographer, but not only is he a photographer, he specifically says that he frequently photographs the night sky. So that takes some specialized practice in itself.
Yeah, that's hard.
But from what I understood from this story, the way he set up his camera, he set it up with, a long exposure, which you typically do for night photography to let more light in to be able to capture lights in a dark environment. And by doing this, he captured these 4 different lights, and they're not really streaking or moving like you would expect if, an airplane had come into the field or another light had appeared from a moving object and moved back. You would see these streaky lines, and there really isn't that. There's a little bit of something that could indicate a little bit of movement, but not to indicate where the objects came from or where they went. And he didn't see these when he was shooting, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I think they're really interesting pictures. And it's neat, I love to see that from England. I mean, they really pay a lot of attention to UFO sightings. I mean, you still see, even after, no matter what, on a regular basis, weekly basis, we see stories where they take these UFO sightings seriously and report them.
That's something we don't have that often here, unfortunately.
Well, we have it here, but we're a much bigger country with much more news outlets. but they seem to have just as many stories as we do.
Right.
And I mean, Britain, no offense, guys, it's just compared to America, it's fairly small.
We got a pretty big country here.
Yeah.
Kind of large.
And they got a great country. I love it. I don't want people to get mad at me for making fun of Britain.
Well, you better not make fun of them. They're my friends. I hope they're your friends.
I love those guys.
All right. And thanks to your recent studies, Arizona is our number one state for UFOs in this country.
Yeah.
We've got a lot going on, but again, the reports are infrequent.
Yeah, very infrequent. And who knows what the heck's going on.
In fact, our colleague Maureen had a UFO sighting this weekend.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, she did.
It was only a UFO momentarily. It's an IFO now. It's identified.
She had a UFO sighting. She has since identified because of her wonderful research. However, she's found flaws with that identification as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to share the story.
Well, I don't want to steal Maureen's thunder, but she did see something zooming through the sky, making strange movements. It didn't look like an airplane. Certainly didn't look like Chinese lanterns because this thing is moving back and forth and illuminating, and then the light was going out and then coming back. So there were 4 lights in the sky, and she suspected that they could be, as we've seen recently in the news, skydivers with flares attached to their body going down through the sky. And so she did her research and found out that there was indeed a team of divers who did a dive on that night. However, the time that their dive was scheduled for was an hour after she had seen these lights in the sky. So they could have jumped the gun and gone an hour earlier.
Or practiced.
And then gone again.
Yeah.
Used up all their flares.
Well, they got a lot of flares.
But there are a lot of those lights now, and more times than not, they do turn out to be these skydivers.
Yeah, that's interesting that that's become so common. And out here, when it's so warm, that could be happening any time of the year.
Well, and as we're seeing with, technology, I mean, everybody can get LED lights now. We're seeing that a lot more. People love being able to illuminate the night sky. So they're putting lights on everything. They go out with their kites and put LED lights on them. Their remote-controlled airplanes and put LED lights on them.
Now these guys are putting flares down their pants and jumping out of airplanes.
They're going to catch on fire.
Yeah, they're crazy.
That's pretty dangerous. Well, one more story, Alejandro. A couple weeks ago, and I'm sure everyone remembers this, the White House responded to the disclosure petition that sought formal acknowledgement from the president of, quote, an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. Stephen Bassett of the Paradigm Research Group announced his follow-up petition that will be submitted to the We the People section of the White House website on December 1st. This petition reads, quote, we petition the Obama administration to demand a full congressional investigation of UFO ET disclosure efforts by the Clinton OSTP, the Rockefeller Initiative. The information on the PRG website about this new petition explains, quote, in response to the disclosure petition, the OSTP, the Office of Science and Technology Policy, stated, the U.S. government has no evidence that any life exists outside our planet or that an extraterrestrial presence has contacted or engaged any member of the human race. If true, what was the OSTP investigating from March 1993 to October 1996 in concert with billionaire and Clinton friend Lawrence Rockefeller? The petition goes live on December 1st, and we'll need to gain 25,000 signatures by December 31st, in order to receive a response from the White House. I think that's a tall order, but good luck to Mr. Bassett and his efforts. I wonder if the White House will even bother responding to this, or whether they'll be kind of annoyed because they just responded to this.
Well, and this one's a little different. I think the wording is a little confusing, and he is asking the White House to ask the Congress to investigate the White House.
Right.
Which is kind of strange. And not only that, as far as the documents go during the Clinton administration, Clinton asked William Hubble, his buddy, to look into UFOs, but there's no, and he has stated that he looked into Roswell but didn't find anything. And of course, we have during his tenure the Roswell reports that came out of the Air Force, but we don't see the Office of Science and Technology involved with that during the Clinton years. There was a consultant who worked with Rockefeller because Rockefeller was interested in it. Hillary Clinton was also, Rockefeller's correspondence was going through her office, but that's all it was. And you see no real conversations between them going on that the Clintons were actively helping Rockefeller. It seemed like Rockefeller wanted them to be, but they didn't really respond much or officially get any investigation going on. So I don't, you're asking the White House to investigate itself and then a Democratic president to investigate the Office of the Science and Technology, which obviously is not interested in the subject, to investigate the Clinton office. It's a really tall order, and I think even if he gets to 25,000 signatures, like you said, that's a tough one.
Well, and you make a really good point, pointing out that you're asking the White House to ask Congress to investigate the White House.
Yeah.
That seems sort of combative, like the first one was, basically saying, admit to us that you're lying. You're all liars. I mean, you can't go and attack them and expect them to really have any sort of motivation, any desire to tell you something if they know something.
Yeah, I think what would have been interesting, Antonio and I were just talking about this, because Antonio wrote the Rockefeller document.
Right.
He was on staff, and Antonio and I were talking, it would have been interesting if he worded it in the way, because the Office of Science and Technology said they had no evidence. If he were to worded it that we would like the Office of Science and Technology to respond to the Rockefeller document. And because there is some great evidence in there. There's some great cases in there.
That's
and
simple.
that
It's straightforward. The wording is so much better.
Yeah. Because it's like, okay, you say you can't find any evidence. Well, what do you think of this document?
Right.
Because there's some great evidence in there.
Right.
That would have been good. I mean, that would have been something I think the entire UFO research community would have been behind, because it would be interesting to see what the White House says.
Yeah. And again, Antonio made a good point, too. I mean, the timing is bad, too. I mean, look at everything that's going on in our country right now. I really don't think there's going to be a congressional hearing about something like this. So
Obama's already asking them to create jobs, and they're obviously not excited to do anything Obama is asking them to do, let alone look for extraterrestrials, or to investigate this thing.
Well, we'll watch through the month of December and see how it unfolds. But, well, Hunter, that is it for the news. Remember to check out all these stories and so many more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you have been briefed. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.